May 17th, 2042. So, had a pretty eventful day today. Met a group of Marines. They had a convoy moving through town, and the noise brought out a goddamn juggernaut. Only seen those a couple of times. The nasty bastards. Ripped a Marine in half right in front of me. I managed to take it down, but a large group of pouncers were there too. One of them would have got me if not for Phoenix. After the fight, I decided I'd further push my luck and introduce myself. Commander is a gunnery Sergeant Jackson. He seems like a good guy. Gave me some ammo and food in exchange for a truck to get his guys home. Said they have a safe place south of Pueblo. But, come on, nowhere's safe anymore. More people just means a larger target for the monsters and the soldiers that broke off from the military and do what they please and take what they want. And what they want is your shit. I call them raiders, and they're bad news. I think I'll pass. Anyway, didn't do much scavenging today, but got a good haul from the convoy. Grenades always come in handy. Oh, we might have to be moving on soon. I've searched most of this town, and there's not much left. There's an old Dodge Ram I have working in the garage. I'll probably load up what I have tomorrow and hit the few buildings I haven't yet on the way out of town. Don't know where we'll go, but we'll be fine. Maybe we'll head west into the Rockies. I need some rest. I'll update when I can. Joel Knox. Joel awoke to his canine companion playfully growling and pawing at his leg. All right, I'm up, he said, rubbing the sleep from his grayish-blue eyes. He noticed the sunlight was already pouring through the apartment window. His watch told him it was 9:17 a.m. Jesus, why'd you let me sleep so long, Phoenix? Joel was met with a soft ruff in response. The previous day's events had taken a toll on the survivor, and though he was still groggy, he got up and started sifting through their food stash. After looking through canned goods, which consisted of beans, green beans, chicken, tuna, and some other assorted vegetables, he remembered the MREs he was gifted by Sergeant Jackson. Hey, Joel said, notably excited. Let's eat something good for a change. Phoenix only panted, patiently waiting for his portion. Joel looked at the rations, reading their contents aloud for the dog, who, if he did understand, likely didn't care. Okay, we got cheese tortellini, jalapeno beef patty, meatballs, and brisket. Phoenix let out a low woof. Yeah, I was thinking brisket too. Joel opened the brown plastic and readied the ration heater by pouring a little water into it. When it was done, the two ate, Joel thoroughly enjoying the change in diet, while Phoenix all but inhaled his share. It was a rare happy moment, and although only briefly, the weight of the past that haunted Joel was lifted. All right, buddy, we got a lot to do today, Joel said, while wiping any remaining crumbs from his short, more pepper than salt beard. He strapped on the dog's backpack he had made by tying some canvas bags to a police canine harness. The two started loading up their few possessions and taking them to the truck. Joel stood on the roof of the apartment complex with a map, planning the route that they would take to hit the more profitable buildings on the way to the 287 South. Hardware stores were a good bet, as they were overlooked for basic medical supplies in the back. Pawn shops and pet stores were good too. Animal food could be eaten in a pinch, and sometimes you'd get lucky at the pawn shop and find some decent weapons. There was no pet store, far as Joel could tell, but there was a hardware store just a couple blocks away from a pawn shop on the way out. It was risky to make a run in a vehicle the day after a convoy let a damn juggernaut and a bunch of pouncers to town, but now was as good a time as any. "All right, boy. I know where we're going. Let's settle up," Joel said to Phoenix. The two made their way to the garage. A well-maintained 1997 Dodge Ram diesel with a camper shell sat loaded with the survivors' supplies. The two got into the truck and Joel started her up, the 12-valve Cummins roaring to life. Although the 45-year-old truck was a classic, she was still in pristine condition. Joel had taken to calling her Delilah. He wasn't sure why, but the old Dodge just looked like a Delilah, and the name had stuck. With their supplies loaded in the bed of the truck next to a few jerry cans of fuel, and Phoenix in the passenger seat, Joel said, "Morning, Delilah. Let's get you some exercise." He put the truck into second gear, let off the clutch, and they were off. "Let's hope for better luck here," said the Wanderer as they pulled up to their second stop. The hardware store had mostly been a bust, with the exception of some expired ibuprofen and a hatchet. Now outside the pawn shop, Joel shut off the truck and got out with his backpack. The little shop was a mess, but didn't appear to be looted, with the exception of the firearms counter, of course. Joel entered the old shop saying, "Guard, boy," to Phoenix. The dog obliged, and the aging survivor began searching for anything useful. He stepped through the aisles opposite the gun counter before he noticed a clothes rack. Upon inspection, he found a few flannel button-ups his size, as well as a semi-worn leather coat. He put these in his pack. He then headed toward the empty gun cases, finding a small set of binoculars, a small LED lantern, and a pair of composite toe boots, which he switched out with his old boots. As he walked around the empty cases, he noticed something under one of them. Bending down to see if it was worth taking, he pulled out the mysterious object, revealing a Glock 17. "Well, I'll be damned," Joel muttered to himself. "Guy must have dropped it and ran." Ejecting the magazine, he saw that it had ammo, with only a few rounds having been fired. 12 remained of the 17 bullet capacity. He slid the magazine back into place with a satisfying click. Joel didn't have any extra 9mm ammunition, but as it was a common caliber, he was sure he could find some. Tucking the pistol in his belt, he noticed a roof access hatch in the back of the room. "I'm going to check the roof, make sure we're clear." Phoenix raised from his sitting position at hearing his partner's voice. "You stay. Guard the truck." The canine sat back down, ears still perked as Joel climbed the ladder to the roof. Once on the rooftop, Joel pulled out his newly acquired binoculars and looked south. He could see the highway they would be taking, as well as the surrounding area. And then he saw something. A single Humvee, spray-painted black, was moving down the road. "Oh, raiders," Joel muttered as he looked ahead to see where they were heading when he saw something else. A lone person wearing a motorcycle helmet was hiding behind a wrecked ambulance, waiting for the black Hummer. Oh, no. As he looked closer, he could barely make out what the person was holding. Don't do it, kid." As Joel finished thinking aloud, the figure popped out from behind the overturned vehicle, aimed the XL-79 grenade launcher, and fired. Oh, shit. The grenade missed the intended target, blowing up a car just in front of the raiders' Humvee, causing them to stop. Well, now you've done it. Joel saw the person turn to flee, jumping on a motorcycle and taking off, the raiders immediately in pursuit. The Wanderer turned and ran back to the hatch. Sliding down the ladder, he yelled to Phoenix, "Come on, boy, we gotta go!" The dog stood and waited for Joel by the truck, who threw the backpack in the back of the truck while jumping in the driver's seat. Phoenix jumped in the passenger seat through the open window as Delilah fired up. "Haven't seen anyone in months. Now 2 fucking days in a row with this shit," Joel muttered, putting the truck into gear and tearing out towards the chase. If they hurried, they might catch them on the highway. The Cummins roared as Delilah sped toward the on-ramp of the 287 South. Joel had been muttering curses the entire way. damning the stupidity of the lone stranger to take on the raiders, as well as damning his own stupidity to try and save him. Ahead, he saw the motorcycle speeding past the on-ramp with the Humvee close behind. "Hold on, Phoenix!" yelled Joel as he dropped a gear and took a sharp right onto the highway, the tires screeching in protest around the curve. The diesel dumped black smoke as its driver upshifted again, struggling to catch up to the pursuit. Knox pulled the Glock from his belt. They were about 100 feet behind the raiders, but catching up. Joel's heart began to race in anticipation of what was to come. He tried to stay away from the raiders when he could, but he knew that if they caught the stranger, they would kill him slow and painfully. Despite his best efforts to ignore that fact, he couldn't let that happen. As he closed in on the black Humvee, he saw one of the raiders lean out the window, looking back at him. He aimed a pistol at the truck and fired as Joel yelled, "Down, Phoenix!" The K-9 dropped to the foot compartment of the pickup as Joel ducked behind the console. Faint gunshots followed immediately by breaking glass could be heard over the wind of their high-speed duel. The now pissed-off driver of the Dodge moved the Glock to his left hand and leaned out of his own window. "You shot my truck, you dick!" he yelled as he navigated the truck to the right to better see the raider and fired 3 rounds at him, who fired back, hitting the headrest where Joel's head had been just seconds before. Joel took aim and fired a single shot, hitting the man just under his right eye. The former soldier slumped, still hanging halfway out of the window, crimson blood staining the side of the Hummer. Another raider leaned out the other side of the black transport and began shooting at the helmeted motorcyclist. Seeing this, Joel let out a fuck, then sped up to place Delilah between the Humvee and the bike. He heard 2 distinct thunks of bullets hitting the tailgate as he tried to get alongside the speeding motorcycle. When he finally had the rider by the passenger window, he yelled, "Get in the truck!" The stranger looked over and quite aggressively gave him the bird. Irritated, Joel yelled again, "Get in the fucking truck!" The raider looked into the Dodge, looked back at the pursuers, then back to the truck again. "Phoenix, in the back!" Joel commanded, which the dog complied with quickly. The stranger pulled the bike close to the diesel as 3 more metallic thunks hit the back of it. Carefully but quickly, the rider brought up a leg and kicked off the motorcycle, jumping halfway into the window of the roaring truck. The bike laid over, spinning across the asphalt and getting run over by the pursuing vehicle. The Humvee's right side was lifted into the air by the unexpected obstacle and came crashing down hard, causing the black machine to swerve into the side railings before tipping onto its side, then the roof, and then sliding to a stop. Joel slowed the truck some, but continued forward. He looked to the stranger. "What the hell were you thinking taking on a group of raiders by yourself, you dipshit?" Joel lectured. "Do you know what those psychos would have done to you?" The stranger removed the helmet and loudly said, "Better than most, asshole!" The voice surprised Joel into a dumb silence. He looked over to see that the voice belonged to a young woman in her mid-20s. She had black hair just past her shoulders, wild from being tucked into the helmet, and piercing green eyes that stared into him with focused intensity. "You're..." Joel began. "What, a woman? Is that a problem?" The stranger spat defensively. "Not what I expected," he finished. The young woman glared at Joel a moment before turning to the passenger mirror, sighing. "I loved that bike." She turned again to face the man who had saved her. "Why help me? Where'd you even come from?" "I was passing by." "And the why?" "Look, you needed help. I helped. I'm no fan of the raiders either." "Oh, bullshit." The woman pulled a gun from her jacket and pointed it at Joel. "What do you want?" At that moment, Phoenix decided to poke his head out between the seats, growling at the new passenger. The rider's eyes widened as she looked at the dog she had forgotten about. "Down, boy," Joel said, unfazed by the gun in his face. "We're good." Phoenix relaxed some, but kept his attention on the girl. "Look, keep the gun on me if it makes you feel better," comforted Joel. "I used to be a cop before all this." He gestured to the desolate road ahead as he spoke. "Guess I never lost the urge to help where I can." The woman put her pistol away, but eyed Joel suspiciously as he continued. "Listen, kid." "I'm 25, she interrupted. "Listen, kid. That was reckless. Brave, but reckless. Are you trying to get yourself killed?" The girl remained silent as they drove. After a few minutes of nothing but the sound of the diesel cruising down the empty highway, Joel spoke. "So what's your name?" Williams. Chloe Williams, she responded, staring out the open passenger window. Turning to Joel, she asked, "What about you? You got a name?" "Joel Knox, and this is Phoenix," he said, gesturing to the dog who perked up at the mention of his name. Chloe tried to hide the smile that crossed her lips at the canine. She liked dogs, and the fact that her new acquaintance hadn't eaten this one yet made her slightly more comfortable. "Nice to meet you, Phoenix," she said, scratching the shepherd behind his ears. "And Mr. Knox?" "Yeah?" "You owe me a bike." The trio had gotten off the 287 onto the 66 West when Joel noticed they were low on fuel. He spied an abandoned orchard and pulled into the driveway, which was bordered by a white fence on either side. "Why are we stopping?" Chloe asked, somewhat alarmed. "Relax," Joel said, shutting off the truck. "We all need a bathroom break, stretch our legs, and I need to top off our fuel." The three wanderers dismounted the diesel and stretched, satisfying pops emanating from Joel's lower back. "Ah, that's the stuff," he whispered to himself, and headed toward the red, barn-looking house. Finding it locked, Joel stepped back and prepared to kick the door in. Wait, came Chloe's voice, approaching the door. "What?" replied Joel impatiently. "Just watch." Chloe pulled 2 paper clips from her pocket, one already bent into a tensioner, the other straightened with a curve on the end. "Picking the lock is much quieter." Within 30 seconds, she had the door unlocked, flashed Joel a told-you-so look, and stepped inside. The interior of the house was dusty, and appeared to be ransacked at first glance. The former cop followed Chloe into the living room, taking in the state of the place before saying, "Ugh, no one's been in here since the owners left." "How do you figure? The place has been looted. It's a mess," Chloe challenged. "No, look at the drawers. Some are open, yeah, but others are shut, like they knew where everything was. Nothing is strewn about, plus none of the windows are broken and the door was locked. If we're lucky, they packed in a hurry and left something behind for us. We should take a look around," Joel concluded. "Huh," the girl replied. "You really were a cop, huh?" "Detective, yeah," the wanderer chuckled. Seems like a lifetime ago." Chloe looked at Joel, and although she still didn't trust him, she was starting to relax just a little around him. "I'm gonna find that bathroom," she stated. "Yep," Joel said. I'll take a look around." Miss Williams headed down the hall while Joel started looking around, pulling open the still closed drawers. Pens, paper, canning supplies. Nothing useful.
"You know, maybe we should stay here for the night,"
came Chloe's muffled voice from down the hall.
"It'll be getting dark soon."
Joel looked out the window, and sure enough, the horizon glowed a bright orange. The creatures during the day were bad. The things that came out at night were worse. She was probably right. Joel began assessing the house. As he heard Chloe approaching from the hall, he said, "Let me ask you something. Why are you sticking with me? I know you don't trust me. It seems like you've survived on your own for a while now. You know how to fight." He looked over his shoulder at the girl before continuing, "Even if you don't know when to fight." This got a wry smirk from Chloe. "So why haven't you taken off?" Joel finished. "Like I said earlier, Mr. Knox," the green-eyed girl answered, circling around her rescuer to better see his face. "You owe me a bike." Then her demeanor changed slightly. She crossed her arms and shifted her weight to her hip, looking down slightly. "And I owe you. You saved my ass, and I need to return the favor." Joel processed this, then looked at Chloe and said, "All right, help me get the stuff from the truck and we'll set up camp. And just call me Joel, please." With the doors locked and the windows covered with blankets, the 3 survivors sat in the living room of their camp. Joel had fetched some water from the nearby lake and was boiling it to drink later. Phoenix drank from a tin bowl, and Chloe sat opposite the two, staring at the fire of the camping stove. Suddenly, a low growl broke the silence. Joel and Phoenix looked at Chloe in unison, who stared back wide-eyed and said, "I don't suppose—" "Here," Joel interrupted, digging into a rucksack and pulling out one of the MREs, tossing it to Chloe. "Now you owe me 2.